Is Deckard a replicant? Are Kay's memories real or implanted? Can replicants replicate via the nasty? Will Ryan Gosling be flattered when he gets my panties in the mail? All this and more on today's episode of Pulling Focus. Hello fellow cinephiles, what is up? My name's Lou and today we're going to be digging into Blade Runner 2049. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, or however you pronounce that guy's name, 2049 takes place 30 years after the original Blade Runner and stars Ryan Gosling as Kay. Kay is a Blade Runner, an officer that hunts and kills older model replicants. For those of you that aren't familiar with Blade Runner lore, a replicant is a bioengineered android. Early in the film, Kay makes a discovery, drawing him into a mystery that could have massive implications for humans and replicants alike. But before I talk about 2049, I want to take a step back and talk about the original Blade Runner for a second. Now, Ridley Scott is one of my favorite directors, but the first time I saw Blade Runner, I really didn't think much of it. I found it interesting to look at, but the plot just didn't draw me in. The fact that I was in my early teens and probably watching the theatrical cut might have had something to do with why I was so unimpressed. A few years ago, I decided to give it another go, this time watching the final cut, and I was absolutely fucking blown away. The pacing of the story, the way that Scott brought this world to life just absolutely hit the spot for me. So when the trailers started dropping for 2049 and made it seem like Villeneuve was as interested in building an awesome world as Scott was, I was super excited. And friends, I was not disappointed. Between the visuals, the sound design, and the music, I absolutely loved being in this world. I also thought the acting was solid, with standout performances from Gosling and Jared Leto. If I wore panties, I'd send a pair to Ryan Gosling. I've loved that dude since I bought The Believer on DVD in 2003 sight unseen. There's also a surprisingly nuanced performance by Dave Bautista, of all people, towards the beginning of this film. He does a solid job in the Guardian of the Galaxy movies, but those roles are built for him. Here he's playing totally off type, and it made me excited to see what else this dude's got. I loved the slow burn of this plot. It gave me time to appreciate the details without rushing straight to the action every time. That said, I can see how somebody would feel like this film drags. If you're not completely taken by the world building like I was, you're going to feel every minute of this almost 3-hour runtime. Beyond the length, I was a little disappointed by Harrison Ford in this. He reprises the role of Deckard from the original Blade Runner, and for some reason I just was not feeling him that much here. His character is integral to the plot, and he's supposed to be kind of burnt out, but there were times when the camera would linger on his face, and he just had this slack-jawed expression. Don't get me wrong, I'm all in on Indiana Jones and Star Wars. Classic Harrison Ford is unfucking stoppable. But I can't remember the last time he was really on fire. Ritz. To me it felt a little like he didn't want to be there. I suppose Deckard doesn't want to be there, so maybe it was a character choice? You know what? That motherfucker turned me around. Harrison Ford killed it as a dude who didn't want to be there. We're back on track. Beyond the production and sound design being stellar and the solid acting performances, there were some really cool details here. I really enjoyed the relationship Kay has with his live-in AI girlfriend, played nicely by Ana de Armas, or however you pronounce that. Their scenes were some of my favorite, and I genuinely felt something for her, which kind of reinforces the idea that these androids can transcend the fact that they were created by human beings. It reminded me a bit of the Spike Jonze film Her, which I also loved. Another standout moment for me involved Kay searching for a totem from his memory. Due in no small part to the sound design, the tension in that scene was executed perfectly. It put me right there with Kay as the realization washes over him. Bravo, Mr. Gosling. Bravo. My panties will be arriving in 3 to 5 business days. A quick spoiler-free note about the ending. In the original Blade Runner, it's left open to interpretation whether or not Deckard is in fact a replicant. I've read some reviews of 2049, and they seem to think this is still left open at the end. The film I saw spells this out pretty clearly, but maybe I'm seeing what I want to see. Either way, it seems like you can get what you want out of this ending. I personally dug it. All in all, Blade Runner 2049 is a thoughtful film with top-notch world building and solid performances. If you like your movies short and tight, this ain't the one for you. But for me, it's like a sore dick. You can't beat it. Thanks for stopping by to talk about Blade Runner 2049. I hope you'll join me next time when we're talking about your mom.